Welcome back to another episode of the Adventure Athletes podcast. In this week's episode, I sit down with Liz Hollis, who is a breathwork coach. Now, I'm absolutely fascinated by breathwork, and we go through pretty much everything you can think about to do with breathwork, whether that's sports performance, whether that's the sort of trauma response to breathwork, how it can benefit you in day-to-day life, just all these little tools that you can use with breathwork. And then we go into how Liz got into it in the first place, why she made that change and how she made that change, and where she's at now. She seems to be doing really well for herself in it, and it's really cool to see her popping up all over the place doing her breathwork seminars. Now, with sport in mind, I am doing a big group fundraiser. So if you've got a big challenge that you're taking part in and you want to fundraise for a good cause, then drop me a message and I'll add you to the big group fundraiser. We're trying to raise £100,000 for Sport in Mind in the space of a year, and that's getting as many people involved as we can. The more, the merrier, as they say. But yeah, enjoy the podcast, guys. So what would you describe your call to adventure?
Get comfy. Get comfy. Right, so I guess I'll give you a little bit about my background before we kind of get into the total call for adventure as to kind of how it came about. So I have got like a massive from a corporate perspective or a career perspective more than anything. I won't go entirely into my whole background. We'll see if that comes afterwards. No. I have worked for 20 years in kind of corporate, in banking, had kind of really kind of high a kind of director side of roles, kind of as an area manager for large teams. So I have got loads of people leadership and understanding and experience. And so over the years, I've always been really interested in people and growth and getting the best out of people and kind of just looking out, getting the best out of people. That's all I need to say, really. Helping people to achieve something that they're really passionate about has always been close to my heart throughout my entire career, no matter what job that I've done. And then, so me and the girls were off to a kind of fitness retreat in Cardiff, like a day thing. And have you heard of it, the Green Mile?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were going there and it was like a bit of fitness, a bit of breath work, they were there. So we were doing the oxygen advantage stuff, as well as some guy was coming in to do the Wim Hof Method. So all I knew about the Wim Hof Method was that program on BBC One. I think it was 2022. No, just before lockdown.
Okay.
I don't know. It was. Do you know? It was called Freeze the Fear. So it was Wim Hof and a load of celebrities. It was hosted by Holly Willoughby and Lee Mack, and then it had like Gabby Logan with the celebrities and like various others. So it was all about kind of, Wim Hof Method is about kind of cold exposure, mindset, breathwork. So they had to do various kind of activities in the cold, mindset stuff. And then they were doing this breathwork and like he had them all lying on the floor and they were all bawling their eyes out, right? And I was like, weird, what is that? What is he doing to them? And that was it, kind of parked it in the back of my mind, never thought about it again. Until we were going to the Green Mile and we were doing the Wim Hof Method. So I was talking to the girls and I was like, right, we've got this Wim Hof Method. We're all going to be in tears. I've no idea why. That's all I know about it. And kind of saw this thing, he does the like, and I thought we're going to be doing all of that. It's going to be hilarious. And we were just kind of making jokes about doing kind of the breath work, if you like. So then we did, we kind of all did the day at a fab day, and then kind of after lunch was the Wim Hof Method style breathwork. The guy that did the breathwork explained nothing, right? Just lie down, listen to my voice. I don't know if that was good or bad. That's not my style now. I guess it was good, but again, I like to set people's expectations so they understand what's coming up. But so we all lie down, start breathing really heavily into our bellies, and then we're doing breath holds. And I'm lying there in the middle of these breath holds. The breath holds are getting longer and longer and longer. I'm feeling like I'm off in space somewhere. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. I know I'm not breathing, but I don't really feel like I need to breathe. I quite like this. Like, what is this feeling? Am I alive? Am I dead? Where am I? And that was it. I was just hooked on breathwork. From that moment forward, I was like, I don't know. It just got me to like understand kind of the power of the breath, like where I'd gone, what had happened. Nothing major happened for me at that point, other than I really liked the experience. And then I just started researching then, looking at different places that I could go to breathwork. So over the next few months, was going to kind of various breathwork classes, etc., and having all sorts of kind of crazy experiences and just learning more and more. So I was doing different things, like from shamanic. I went to like a shamanic session. Well, I went to all sorts. I went to Chris Davis's a few times, to his like the one with the headphones. I can't remember what he calls it now. So silent healing or something like that. And I was just absolutely loving the experience. I was doing breathwork online. I was just exploring everywhere. What I should say, is in this time period, so before we'd gone to the fitness retreat, I'd been offered redundancy in the February from work. And I've always said, like, when redundancy comes, the time is right, I'll take it, but I'm staying until I'm getting paid off. Didn't take it in February. Me and my husband had gone away in September in the camper van. We'd done like 3 to 4 weeks traveling in the camper van. I was like, oh, why didn't I take redundancy? Knew that I always wanted to do kind of branch out and do self-employed mindset coaching and stuff, but I wasn't ready in February. I didn't really know what that looked like. So then one day then in one of my breathwork sessions in kind of late November, December time, I had this really just clear vision, and it was like me being free, me kind of being like just with my family there, like with my husband, my daughter, do you know what I mean? And it was just, I was kind of in this green field. The van was there. It was just, my best friend was there. It was just, I knew all the people that I needed around me, but I also knew I needed to be free from what was holding me back, which felt like the corporate career. Yeah. And then this kind of overwhelming urge to kind of help people. I was like, everyone needs to know about this. Everyone needs to know and understand that we've got a tool within us that is this powerful. So that was it. It was like, right, next time redundancy comes, I am taking it. I'm biting their hands off, and I'm running. And 3 months later, in February, exactly the same time as the year before, we were offered redundancy again. And I was like, yep, I'm gone. Like, just get me out of here. And lots of opportunities were offered at that time because it was a total restructure. We had a new CEO in and all that sort of stuff. I've worked in Nationwide since 2008. Well, I left now 2 years ago. So we've always been kind of this building society, mutual, all about our members. We had a new CEO coming in from Lloyd's prior to Nationwide. I used to work for Barclays. And it's very different in a shareholder bank. And I just felt like that didn't match my values anymore. It felt a little bit different. I felt like I was going back to what I'd left before I joined Nationwide. So it just all fitted together. I was like, yeah, it's not my time to be in this organisation anymore. Great company to work for, don't get me wrong. I'm not slating them at all. They've given me the best career and invested so much in me and given me so many skills. But that was my time. You know, it had all fallen together. I'd had this vision. I knew I could do it. I had the belief that I could do it. I knew what I was going to use, you know, how I was going to get there. And I really wanted to just get out there and help people. One of the things that it taught me, the whole redundancy process, I was kind of fine with it. I'd made peace with it. On both occasions, I was offered another solution. And on the second occasion, I chose a job that wasn't the same for a number of people in the organisation. And whilst in Nationwide, everybody is kind of really well treated, you kind of remember that you're only ever just a number. And so many times in my life, I have given that company like 14-hour days because you just want to, you want to do your best, don't you? You're like, that's kind of deep rooted within me. I want to do my best. I want to do my best to help the organisation, to help the people I work with and all of that. But at the time that organisation wants to make, cuts, to make changes, then we're only ever just a number. So I'm super passionate about getting out there and reminding people not to give too much to a company. Do you know what I mean? Like, look after yourself first. We live in a society now where people are so stressed all of the time, and work is a massive contributor to that. How many people do you know that are kind of employed and put so many extra hours in at the cost of their family, friends, like just general well-being, because that's what other people do. And it's like, no, let's strip it back, guys, because yeah, you may be really well looked after. Yes, you may enjoy where you're working, but when something comes in, when change needs to happen, people don't know you there, so yeah. It's you're just a number, and cuts will need to be made. So don't regret what you've left behind. You can give your all. The more you look after yourself, the more you've got to give in the designated time that you're paid for, rather than kind of doing more. So it's just, yeah, I'm just passionate about getting out there and getting that message across. Or that's what I thought anyway. I thought I'd be very corporate focused, but as it happens, the way a corporate and fitness focused, because I've also got a strong connection to fitness personally. I find that the people that I'm helping the most are kind of, it's from a personal perspective, and it's more kind of stress related. Could be linked to work, but more often, it's just general stress management, and they're in quite deep places, quite dark places. So I haven't managed to get out there and do my corporate stuff yet, because I've been finding my feet, and I've been called on elsewhere, which is brilliant for me. I'm loving it, and I'm loving seeing people on those journeys. But yeah, sorry, I've just rambled for ages there.
No, it's good. I always find that when you have a plan in your head of like, right, I'm going to leave this thing and I'm going to go off and do this other thing, it never works like that. And I've been very good myself at just listening to that.
Yes.
And just being like, okay, like, forget what I thought. Like, I used to work as a multi-site operations manager for like fitness gyms. A lot of office-based stuff, lots of health and safety, not me at all.
I hated it. Yeah.
And then I was like, right, I'm running my own videography business. I don't have any other jobs or anything lined up, but I'm going to quit. And I quit, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Nice.
And I went in to do some photography for a gymnastics club that my mate worked at. They were like updating their website. And as I was leaving, the manager comes out and was like, oh, you can do a backflip, can't you? And I was like, yeah. They're like, do you want a job coaching? And I was like, well, I'm between jobs at the moment, and like I never thought I'd ever work with kids. That was like the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll do it until I find something else, sort of thing. Just keep some money in my pocket. And then I coached gymnastics for the next like 8 years.
Nice. Enjoy it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Don't actually coach gymnastics anymore now, but like that was like a massive part of my life, and I couldn't imagine when I was then doing it, like doing anything else. And like that was in London, and I moved to Wales, and the first thing I looked at was like gymnastics coaching jobs.
Yeah, that's what you know, isn't it?
That's my career now. But if you had asked me like 10 years ago, like, what do you want to be doing? Like, working with kids would not have made the list.
Yeah.
So
it's mad how life pans out, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's because I think, so 10 years ago, when I've always been quite status driven, like that was a massive part. That's what drove me in my career. I wanted to be the best at what I did. In the beginning, it was like, I'm going to be the youngest area manager. Like it was always just like some sort of like status beyond just the status of being a leader, if you like. Do you know what I mean? And then I fell into this bracket, which made me a little bit materialistic. I was like, I want the nice handbag because like they've got the nice handbag. Do you know what I mean? And in the role that I had, I was lucky to have a company car, and one of my cars was a Jag, and I used to kind of love driving around in my Jag, and I look back at that person, because over the last 10 years or so, I've just come to realize, like, life is not about all that stuff at all. It's so much more about time, experiences, memories, what you do. Do you know what I mean? All of those things are far more important, which has also kind of allowed me to kind of come away from that attachment to the corporate, like, reliability of that money coming in and all of that sort of stuff, all the stuff that it gives you.
Yeah.
And just move away and change careers completely, and know that you're going to find far more happiness in having the freedom than kind of being tied to this bloody laptop. Like, so I used to feel like I was just chained to this laptop. I used to roll out of bed at 7:00 in the morning, and before I'd even done anything, I'd go and turn my laptop on to see, like, what's happened. Do you know what I mean? Has anything happened overnight? Has anyone sent me a late email? What do I need to respond to? That's if I hadn't already been on my phone and checked, to be honest. And then, I'd kind of, go and get dressed and then find myself just chained to that laptop all day. Teams meetings after Teams meeting, just constant. And, I failed to say, but by the end of my last for about the last 5 years in Nationwide, I came out of where I was doing area management in the branch network. I was working for head office. I was doing like strategy type stuff, like creating customer service strategies or part of teams that created customer service strategies for all of the members, and like mobile app and all that sort of stuff. So I was literally, come kind of lockdown time, I was just at home and chained to my laptop. But that's one of the things that makes it quite difficult for me. So like when I like, strategy is what I did for a really long time. So going like self-employed, I was like, right, create my strategy now. And then, so that bit where I was like, hang on, this is my strategy, this is where I'm supposed to be going, but I'm going this way. I'm liking it. But it was difficult initially for a while, because I was like, well, I should be doing this, and this, and I've just, it hasn't even been a year yet. So I didn't finish my Wim Hof training until I went on the 18th of October last year. And so I didn't start delivering breathwork until November time. So it's not even been a year yet. So it's just like, I'm just going with it, letting it go. And it's just like amazing. It's brilliant. It's going well.
Good.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going well. Like, all the things, like the first thing I said when you came in was like, you're doing a lot of like workshops and stuff. Like, I just see you popping up everywhere. So no, it is cool. How would you say then, because you went on about you had this strategy, but you found that you're going more down, there's people that have got so much stress in their life. How does breathwork help them?
So this is the one thing. It's so kind of hard to put. It helps. It's hard to put into words. So I'll try. I'll try my best. It helps in so many different ways. So when I started, and like I say, I was a Wim Hof Method instructor. The Wim Hof Method was the route I decided to go down, following doing all of the different breath work. The Wim Hof Method was the one that I kind of started with. I loved the most. It resonated with me. The course kind of came up. It included cold exposure and mindset as well. It was perfect. So what I thought I'd be doing is mindset coaching, based on my background, and I also am NLP trained, and then doing breathwork, like classes, workshops, using the Wim Hof, or doing Wim Hof workshops in all. So that's what I started out doing. I knew how powerful the breath was, but it's not until then you start seeing it play out with others that you're kind of like, wow. So it started off just workshops, getting people to, get themselves comfortable, take them through a process, and just watching what was happening in that time. Now, my workshops are different to many that you will know, because I really kind of focus on weaving through messages, so mindset stuff. I suppose they all do that really, but I'm not. So a lot of the breathwork is also often known for getting people to cry, screaming into a pillow and all that sort of stuff. Now I love all that, right? I do all that. I do all that. Yeah. But that's not my type of workshop. That's not what I deliver. I don't want people screaming into pillows. I don't heighten them to that point, to the point they'll scream into a pillow. I'll do that perhaps on a one-to-one. But in a workshop environment, that's just not my style. That's all. But like I say, love the styles out there. I'm all into it myself. So people were walking up to me at the end of sessions and they were like, oh my God, like, I don't know what just happened to me, but I've been, this thing has been holding me back for ages and now I know what to do. And then people were contacting me afterwards talking about how they were feeling and all of that. So I was just amazed by the impact that it was happening on that level, just from getting people to lie down and do a nervous system reset, if you like, is what you do in that place. In addition, I'll come back to that actually. So then I started kind of exploring it more, and it's like do another course, an online course, to understand a little bit more about breathwork and how it can help. So it's really simple if you think about it logically. Everything that from the second we're born, first thing we do is we breathe. Everything that we do day in, day out is governed by our breath and the way that we breathe. So we breathe differently no matter what emotion we're feeling. You think about your laugh. If you laugh really hard, that description of I was barely laughing, right? Things like that. It's like when you cry or when you're feeling anxious, you get tightness, like a lump in your throat, or tightness, like stopping breath here. In day-to-day, in society, we protect our emotions using our breath. And I'm completely unaware of it. So if I was to say something that was going to upset you right now and you didn't want to show me that you were going to cry, you'd go, just hold your breath, and you'd hold it in. Effectively, what you're doing is you're pushing emotion down. So if you can imagine now somebody that's going through a really tough time, grieving, for example, they've lost somebody, they're spending all that time pushing that emotion down to stay strong on face value when they need to stay strong, and they're just pushing energy into the body. If you're living in a stressful environment, so if you've got a stressful job or you're just generally dealing with stress and anxiety, you're in fight or flight, you're kind of panicking, you're kind of moving quite fast, all of your breath is up here. Everything is just up here. As human beings, we're designed to breathe in fight or flight when we're in fight or flight, and when we're resting, we should be breathing down into our diaphragm, down into our belly, which 9 times out of 10 people don't do, unfortunately. And that's where the restoring happens. That's where you tell your body you're safe. So it's as simple as so if we can learn, so I guess how breathwork kind of helps kind of manage stress is we breathe passively so much. What breathwork does is it teaches you to be conscious of your breath, so you can start to interrupt that breathing pattern. Breathe differently, so slow things down, move things back down into your diaphragm. Nice, long, slow exhales. When you do a long, slow exhale, you're kind of stimulating your vagus nerve, you're signaling safety to the body. Your body goes, I'm fine, I can rest. Your heartbeat will slow, your mind will slow, and you're able to start to think more rationally, more clearly, and make kind of clear decisions and start to manage those stress levels. And where I talk a lot about the fact that we need to relearn to breathe, we need to be consciously breathing as often as we can throughout the day. So just bringing ourselves back into our body. Keep it really simple. There's loads of breathing techniques out there. You can do like the box breathing, brilliant. You can do 4-7-8 when you're really stressed. So in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. If you really panic, that's a really good one, but hard to get started because if you're panicked, it's hard to kind of do 4-7-8. But the simplest thing to do is just think, I'm just going to slow my breathing down here and do some nice slow exhales. Over time, you're reteaching your body to breathe differently. So instead of being in your chest all the time, now you're not in your chest for a minute of that hour, for example. Do you know what I mean? So it's only 59 minutes out of 60. And then over more and more and more and more, you chip into it so that eventually you can bring yourself right down. One of the things that I have noticed since I've started doing in breathwork, I used to struggle with really bad pain across my shoulders and chest, you know, kind of that stress area, isn't it? And I used to just live with it. That's how I was. That was just a pain that I lived with and experienced across my kind of shoulders and back. And then when it got really bad, I got to my head. And that headache kind of spreads up and over. That was like, all right, it's really bad now. I'm going to have to go for a massage. Go for a massage, have a little reset, and then it'd be gone. And I'd be like, right, stress alleviated, back to it. I'll watch it build back up again. And that would just be a constant cycle for me. Since I've learnt to breathe again, touch wood, I can't remember the last time I've had that pain. Genuinely, I'm not lying. That shoulder and neck pain, I don't have it anymore. Like I really can't remember when I had it. And what's interesting about this type of work is sometimes you don't notice it's happening because we're craving normality. We're craving living without the pain, whatever that may be. So that's normal. So good is normal. So you don't notice when things are good. We only really notice when things are bad. It's when you look back and when someone says to you something about shoulder pain, you go, oh my gosh, I haven't had that shoulder pain for ages. Because that's literally what happened to me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a good point. I haven't had that shoulder pain for ages. Wow. And then that's kind of when you kind of replay it back. One of the things that I'm really close to monitoring at the moment is our HRV levels, which, you know, HRV let you know effectively how well you're managing stress. I live in excellent now. Which I feel like I'm bragging when I say it. It's like, what? There's work gone into that. It's not just a humble brag.
I'm just elite at HRV.
I'm just elite at HRV. Yeah. Yesterday, so I kind of monitor it on an app called Body Wave. And yesterday I had an alert come through that said your HRV has dipped to 13. You're obviously feeling quite stressed. So I was like, okay, yeah. As it happened, it was just after a workout. That's where it had plummeted. So I was like, okay, you know, that's a combination of things. So I'm gonna do some breathing and bring it back up. And you can literally see then the next reading, it's back up. So breathwork is instant. Because you instantly, as soon as you start slowing your breath down, your heart rate changes straight away. Everything just levels out. So, it's amazing, but people don't believe me. Because it's hard to believe, right? Because we've just breathed our whole life. Yeah. We've not even thought about it. We've not put a second thought into it. And that's just the day-to-day stuff. But then there's the deeper stuff where you do the trauma release, which is just something, you know, in itself, which is also amazing. So where I said the easiest way to describe this is all of those emotions I talk about that you push down into your body all day, every day. Emotion is just energy. That's all it is. So that's just energetic flow getting stored in your body. And that's where then it'll find an area. Often that's when people get stressed. They'll be like, people with IBS, it's much worse when I'm stressed. Every condition, they will always be, it's much worse when I'm stressed. Because stress is the thing that's causing it rather than it's that whole mind-body connection. So we're pushing those emotions down into our body, and sometimes it'll come out as an injury, it'll come out as an ailment, it'll come out somewhere as that energy. So with doing the breath work, we introduce a circular breath, which allows us to start metabolizing. So we're not anymore kind of breathing up and holding those emotions in. We're circular breathing, which starts to metabolize what's going on in there. So that's why when you see people doing the breathwork sessions, you know, the workshops, kind of when they're together, kind of lying on the floor and crying, that's where emotions just suddenly can start to surface. They can be completely unexplained. And that's the beauty of breathwork. You can resolve past trauma without needing to revisit it. You don't have to go back and talk about it and relive it all. Something just moves, something and comes up, and you might cry, you might laugh, you might shake, you might pulse, you might feel light, you might feel heavy. You know, all of these things can happen during that experience. But ultimately, you're doing a number of things. You're resetting your nervous system. You're metabolizing emotions. You're letting things move through your body that you've been holding on to, that you've been storing. And you're allowing because of then the chemistry changes in your body and your brain, you're allowing yourself to go deep into your unconscious mind. Your thinking stops, and your unconscious mind, your inner intuition, all of that shines through. This is where the change happens. That's where my big vision came from. That's where it's like that belief comes from. That's where all the change happens. And then right at the end, when you stop doing the breathing and you just be for a little bit after the session, you are completely still. Your mind is completely still. And so many people say to me, I have never had a still mind. And I've just had a still mind for however long that was. I didn't want it to end. And that in itself, if you without all of the other stuff that I described leading into it, if you can just manage to have that stillness, it's so healthy for us, to just be, to just relax and just be in ourselves for a moment with nothing, no thinking, nothing, no, just complete and utter stillness and relaxation, somewhere between being awake and asleep, but just loving that kind of experience. And that's where the healing happens.
I've been finding recently, you're probably going to say this is to do with stress.
I say everything's to do with stress. Honestly, I'm like a broken record. Stress, that is. Someone's like, I keep getting injured all the time. Stress, that is. Like, I had a bad knee the other day, and I was like, my knee's not even bad. What am I stressed about?
I catch myself holding my breath a lot.
Yeah.
And it won't be like, because I used to think it definitely was before. It was triggered by things like, it was definitely like I was stressed and I'd be like getting anxious about something and I would just stop breathing. Mm-hmm. But now I've like caught myself doing it where I'm just like, say I'm just like lying down.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be like, why am I not breathing? And then I'm like, I have to actively remind myself to breathe. And it sounds so stupid because you do just breathe.
No, yeah.
But like, what causes that? What can I do to stop that happening?
So when I was doing my second lot of training, of breathwork training, part of the practicals was monitoring your own breath. And it's obviously, as soon as you think to myself, I'm going to monitor my breath now, straight away your breath changes. So I had to learn ways of catching my breath, if you like. Anyway, I realised I was a breath holder. So I suddenly found that I'd catch myself not breathing. And I was like, oh, wow. Now, so the reason. So actually, that's a past trauma somewhere. Now, we say the word trauma, right? And we think it's something like deeply catastrophic, and it could be something that's been quite something that's hurt over the years. It can be something really small sometimes that's just grown. It can be something a teacher said to you once in school that's just stuck with you, so that when something happens, it kind of replays that. So sometimes I'll use the word trauma and just try and explain that it's not always like a really bad thing that's happened. It can be tiny, that's just created a trauma in the body. But that the breath hold is very much a protective thing. It's to stop yourself feeling whatever emotion you're feeling. So interestingly, sometimes we can stop ourselves feeling happy. So it's not always that we're stopping ourselves feeling sadness. We might feel like we're going through a period of time where we shouldn't be happy, and we try and stop that happiness. It might be that we feel stupid feeling happy at that time. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're like a little bit embarrassed and we'll start. So but the breath hold's a really common one for just stopping that. And then over time, it's a learnt behavior. The more you do it, the more you learn it, and the more it just creates that behavior then. So the way in which to stop is, as soon as you notice that you're doing it, just bring in some slow breaths or a breathing technique that you like. So my favourite is just inhale for 4, exhale for 6, and just try and get to 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever it is. Even if you only do that for 60 seconds, it's better than not doing it at all.
Yeah.
So when you catch it, the awareness is brilliant. I'm very aware of how I breathe. I mean, I should be, it's my job, but you know, I really am which is why my HRV is particularly good, because I'll wake up in the morning and I'm like, ooh, am I breathing a bit fast? And then I'll straight away start slowing things down. So that's why, you know, that I'm having that instant impact on, because it's like this, but the average is good. So A, when you catch yourself doing it, B, find time to consciously breathe. So lying down, relaxing, doing breath work, yeah, brilliant. But that's not going to make, it is going to make a positive change, but it won't be as positive as you interrupting your breathing more frequently throughout the day. So when I started to change the way I breathed, I was like, right, I'm just going to do, and I picked 4-7-8 at the time. I'm just going to do 4-7-8 when I'm driving. Every time I get in the car for a large part of that journey, as long as I remember, I'm going to do some nice, slow, controlled breaths. And that's what I did. And now I just, throughout the day, I'll just remind myself to breathe. It comes to me a lot. But the more that you do it, the more you're interrupting that pattern, the more your body, you'll be training new neurological pathways, and the more that your body will learn and understand like different ways of breathing, and you'll feel better. You'll look back in a few weeks' time, you'll go, oh yeah, I do actually feel better. I can see that now, I can feel that now, but it won't be a click of a finger.
Yeah.
But
so that's probably like the best way, because that was going to be one of my questions, is how can people implement this into their life for that benefit? It's just almost like, they call it habit stacking, don't they? Where
yes.
It's like you're doing one thing and you just add another thing on. So like you said with driving, you just do it when you're driving, because then you just associate the two together, and it's that trigger for you to remind you almost.
Yeah, exactly. You might want to do it when you're washing up. Like you pick. Do you know what I mean? Ideally, we want to interrupt our passive breathing pattern for a minimum of 15 minutes every day. Whether you do all 15 minutes together, or whether you do that 15 times throughout the day, it's entirely up to you. But that's a minimum. If you're doing it more than that, great. The more you do it, the more you're creating that safe space for your body, and also that new pathway.
Yeah.
And it helps. So it's the mindset stuff then that kind of helps to make a big difference. So, so anxiety, stress, anxiety, that's the future, right? So if you're feeling anxious about something, you're thinking about the future, it's your overactive imagination. It's not even real, right? And yet we sit there lying awake at night, sometimes in bed, thinking about something that may happen. 97% of the time it doesn't happen. So thinking about something that may happen that is just your overactive imagination, it's not even real. Or we might live in the fear. There might be something that's happened in the past that we keep kind of going over and over and over. They're the main things that then get in the way of how we feel. So when you're breathing slow, so when you're breathing fast and you're in fight or flight, straight away your brain gets hyper-focused. What is it? What am I under attack from? What do I need to fix now? Now, if you're lying in bed at that time, it's pretty much nothing. So that's why it goes to this thing might happen, and suddenly you're in this spiral of thinking about this thing that might happen. Bring your breath back into the equation. So straight away, focus on your breath, which obviously brings you into the present. Remind yourself that that's the future. It doesn't even exist. I'm wasting my energy there. Or that's the past. I can't change the past. Like, it's happened. Like, let me take my learnings from it and then just bring yourself back into the future moment, into the present moment. Bring your breath into to play so that it slows your mind, slows your heartbeat down, slows your mind down, and just focus on what am I going to do now to fix this moment, And it might, at that very time, because I'm talking about lying in bed, it might be go to sleep. Right, so what do I need to do to get myself to sleep? And it could be, a bit of a body, to keep doing my breathing, but doing a body scan, relaxing my body, whatever it is that works for you, turning on a sleep hypnosis. I record those, by the way. It could be whatever works for you in that moment, but I'm going to focus, rather than being focused on this thing that's probably never going to happen, I'm going to focus on getting myself to sleep now. And that's what I'm going to do. And as soon as your brain goes, but what if you can't sleep? That's the future kicking in again. What if you can't sleep? I've got no control over what if I can't sleep. What I have got control over is what I do to get myself to sleep in the moment. Now, that's a brilliant practice to lend itself to, I've spoken about sleep and all of that there, but it's to lend itself to anything at all in life. No matter what you're facing into, just focus on that moment and use the breath to get there.
Yeah. Is there like a specific type of like breath work that's helps with like sleep or like with stress or anxiety or things like that?
Yeah, so the 4-7-8 is really good for calming us right down. People generally don't like the 4-7-8 because it's hard to get into. So you kind of inhale for 4, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. That exhale just makes you go soft. But you've got to really kind of get your body and your rhythm into it. As people, we will live in familiar discomfort over unfamiliar comfort. So if we're feeling like we can't get to sleep right now, but you've got to do 4-7-8 to get there, which is unfamiliar comfort, because it's effort, it's something different I need to do, I'm just going to stay here and I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing, and it's not going to work and I'm not going to be able to get to sleep. So 4-7-8 takes a little bit of time to get into the rhythm, get your body ready, particularly if you're used to breathing your chest. It's really hard to slow things down. Sometimes you got to do it for 3 minutes to get past and get into it, but every time I do that, I don't know because I'm not looking at the clock, but it feels like within 10 minutes I'm gone, I'm asleep. So 4-7-8 is brilliant for sleep. 4-7-8 is also really good for panic. If you ever see somebody that's starting to experience an anxiety attack, bring them into 4-7-8. Now, you might find that they have to kind of go, they'll breathe in for 4, do the 4-7-8, and in the middle go, that's fine. Like, just keep bringing them back, or bring in like 3-5-6, or do you know what I mean? Just keep until you can get to 4-7-8. So that is actually the one that is like scientifically proved to help with panic attacks. So that's a really good one for bringing everything just down. So if we need to really kind of regulate ourselves, if we're finding that we're feeling really, really anxious, humming is really good. So inhale and then exhale a hum. So like that on the exhale. 2 reasons: gives you the longer exhale, and also the vibration in the body. The body just loves it, and it massively stimulates the vagus nerve. So that's another one for kind of bringing you down and into peace. Not so much for, you could use it in the beginning to relax you to get to sleep, but then obviously just go into something. You do find that your mind kicks in and all of a sudden you're back to passive breathing again. But it's like, oh, hang on, I was doing something. Let me take myself back to my breath work now. You've always got to remember, because people go, I can't do it. And it's like, no, we all will have our brains kick back in. We've got to go, hang on a sec, I'm doing something. I'll go back to that, and bring yourself back into the present. Box breathing is really good. If you enjoy box breathing, box breathing. So yeah. So 4-4-4-4. So just in case anyone listening doesn't know, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, and you just kind of keep doing that. That's just generally really good for kind of settling and bringing things down. But my favourite, like I said to you, is just kind of inhale for 6, inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Another favourite of mine actually is something called coherence breathing. This is very good for HRV because it brings your breath in line to your heart starts to go into sync with your breath, and that's just a simple either 5-5 or 6-6. So it just starts. Naturally, you don't have a heartbeat per. Like, it's not like 5 and then your heart just goes, I'm going to wait. But it starts to bring your brain and your heart into coherence. Hence, it's called the coherence breath. And that's why it's very good then for HRV. And then like you can use breath work to energize as well. So like you can do a power breath, like particularly in the Wim Hof Method, it's a big thing about using breath work for energy, for strength, for resilience. It's all about kind of pumping up, building adrenaline. And then it is just literally a quick like in, out, in, out, in, out, get things going, get yourself kind of fired up and ready to go. Because sometimes we want to get our adrenaline flowing. Like, one of my kind of key things is like anxiety's got a really bad rep. Like sometimes we want that like anxiety is you feeling worried, passionate about achieving something. Sometimes you want that fire in your belly. You need that hyper focus to, go for the job, go on the run, do whatever it is you need to do. But it's like channeling it to a positive energy, channeling it and going, yeah, give me that, yeah. And my breath is going up. Everything's pumping because I need that adrenaline in my body right now. It's a good thing,
Yeah.
So
that was going to be one of my next questions, actually, was about how can we use breath for sports performance? Because obviously I'm massively into my sports and I always try and get an edge on everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how can we use breath work to improve our sports performance? But then it's also, so I got a client, for example, that she's got into running because of like, I've kind of like bullied her into it a bit. But she struggles with her breathing and she used to have asthma.
Right.
She still does have asthma, but like we'll be out running and she'll be like, oh, my chest is tight, I'm struggling to breathe, and it makes her not want to run. And she's like, I'm having an asthma attack. And I'm like, it doesn't sound like an asthma attack. Like, you're not wheezing, it doesn't sound like anything's actually tight, but you've just got that tight feeling in your chest. And it's like, how can I use breath work to help her? Because I've suggested things like control your breath, and I'm like, breathe in for a shorter amount that you're breathing out for, and things like that. But she just can't, in that like panic state, and because she's still running, she really struggles like then controlling it. And she's like, I'm trying, I just can't do it. And then I'm just like, how can I help her as well?
And do you know what I hear? That like so many, like I'm trying, I can't do it, and outside of running, let alone running. So with her, often, like, so there's a phrase, if you believe it is true. So she's like, I've got asthma, or I can't breathe when I run. So straight away, that's her mind. So that kicks in as soon as she starts running. So she needs to trust her body that actually that isn't the case. And she has got the ability to breathe while she's running. She's got the ability to breathe, therefore she's got the ability to breathe while she's running. What you're saying is spot on. So she needs to find a way of reducing her heart rate. So it might be like as simple as slowing down to begin with, a slower pace while she's building trust. So that, and then learning to breathe at that slower pace. So, but often what I find helps is to breathe in for 2 and then out. So it's kind of, so each foot, so it's in, out, in, out, because it gives you something to focus on, when ultimately all you're doing is kind of giving yourself that longer exhale and slowing things down, or a coherence if it's the same. Do you know what I mean? So that you're not panicking by the breath. You're in control of the breath in whatever way it works. There's also a lot to be said about nasal breathing. Now, I haven't done the Oxygen Advantage course yet. But I understand a lot about kind of nasal breathing and the benefits of nasal breathing and all. I mean, we should be breathing through our nose all of the time, except when we're doing something like breath work or kind of exercising. So maybe, again, with her to begin with, she just focuses on nasal breathing for now. Again, it'll slow her pace right down to begin with. Because you've got to build the capacity in nasal breathing. But that in turn will just increase her lung capacity, increase everything, get things functioning better. She's learning a new technique, is focused on that technique, which will then ultimately start to mean that she can kind of trust her body again to achieve what she needs it to achieve and get into running. But I think with in that example, it's all about kind of building trust, and then when resting, then obviously ensuring that she is taking time to slow that heart rate back down.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that then, with the sports performance stuff, like how can we use breath work to do the opposite, like you were saying, of like how can we hype ourselves up, and like when's it appropriate to do it as well for sports, because obviously you don't want to pass out while you're training.
Yeah. Well, it's that clarity and focus. So yeah, so doing something like the Wim Hof Method, but just like 3 rounds of it. So strictly speaking, the Wim Hof Method is 30 to 40 like really deep belly breaths, and then a breath hold, and a big inhale, and a shorter breath hold. So breath hold on the exhale, and then a breath hold on the inhale. A round of 30 to 40 breaths will take like 2.5, 3 minutes, that whole thing. And then it depends how long you do your breath hold for. If you did quite a quick, fast activating one, like, whilst you're, an hour before you're due to exercise, it'll get your body fired up. It'll get the adrenaline going. So a nice quick, like in through your mouth. So at this point, mouth, in and out the mouth. Nice big deep breaths that fill the belly, probably about 30 of them. If once you're well versed in it, you can go up to 60, but you do kind of get dizzy. You go off to a really nice focused place. You're building all that adrenaline and strength and resilience in your body. You'll finish it after 10 minutes. You'll feel bloody brilliant. And then go off to kind of do whatever sporting you're doing. So that's your clarity, your focus perspective. And then I guess it's kind of sport specific, which I'm not actually kind of then overly kind of trained in to be able to go into that level of detail. I need to kind of learn and expand a little bit more about some of the sport specific stuff in terms of then how you can use it before you go. But ultimately, nothing changes. So nasal breathing as much as you can until you can't nasal breathe anymore, if you like, in the process. And then, just focus on regulating that breath, however that kind of works for you in that time. You're going to get, your heart rate's going to go, your breath is going to go, everything's going to go, and you just want to kind of allow things to flow, to allow yourself to get into it and keep that focus. So whatever it is that works for you in that time, then kind of go with it.
Yeah. You might not know the answer to this, but
try me.
With the breathwork, then, like we spoke about the benefits of like how it can affect our stress and anxiety, and like a little bit of sports performance. Like, are there any sort of, it's all like in the moment stuff we've spoke about. Are there any sort of like long-term health benefits to doing the breathwork, things like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, all of it attributes to kind of the long-term health benefits. So in reducing stress, stress is the biggest kind of cause of the majority of our ailments. There's a lot to be said around kind of trauma and how trauma then plays through in the body in different ways. And, there's lots of reports around kind of the links to kind of how trauma can bring on kind of certain kind of diseases and things like that. I won't go into that much because I can go off on a tangent. So from a long-term health perspective, just by managing your stress levels, that's going to have a massive impact, and reduce it, and obviously kind of dealing with the trauma in your body, and in doing that. In addition to that, then it's lung capacity. Obviously, the more you're practicing breathing differently, you're going to be increasing your lung capacity overall. Some of the stuff we do causes kind of, so when we're doing the Wim Hof Method, so when you're doing kind of a session where you're doing a really deep activated breath and you're getting your adrenaline flowing and all that sort of stuff, that causes vasoconstriction and vasodilation. So that is having really good impact on your cardiovascular system. So overall, even when you're breathing in that way, you're training your cardiovascular system. So there's loads and loads of kind of different health benefits in that respect from being in the moment and just practicing it frequently that will play out over the long term. Because as with everything, as you know, everything is kind of just what we do. Like it's a healthy lifestyle, isn't it? It's all the things that you do that come together that will have those long-term health benefits.
Yeah. With the breathwork, then, how can people, other than like the sort of like shorter things where it's like we just need to focus for a minute on trying to do this, how can people learn more about breathwork and like implement it into like a bigger part of their daily routine?
There's loads of different apps available. I'm kind of in the process at the moment of creating an app myself. that it can be used, so you can learn how like different breathing techniques will help you, and different ways in terms of it, like finding ways of implementing them into your daily lifestyle, your weekly, monthly lifestyle, all those different things. So there's so basically down that route, I suppose it's just a case of finding the things that work for you. I mean, I work privately with people a lot. I tend to find that when people kind of start with me, then they kind of stick, and it's like learning ways in which to just use the breath, use the mindset tools, use all of those different things to give you the capacity that you need to cope with life. We are never going to be 100% happy, 100% fit and healthy. There's always going to be things that crop up throughout life. And days and all of that. And it's really unrealistic to think that. And that's where kind of the whole toxic positivity plays in. It's like, I'm fine. It's really unrealistic to think that. So breathwork is a really powerful tool that we carry with us 24/7 that plays a part in helping you to have the capacity to manage what life throws at you. On its own, it's probably not enough. We need to do other things. We need to eat well. We need to exercise. We need to get out in nature. We need to sleep. There's all of these different things. We need our routines. We need all of these different things that will help you to have like an overall healthy lifestyle, and help you to, be fit and healthy. The thing with the breath is you can carry with you 24/7. So, it isn't the case of, right, I'm feeling really stressed, so I need to go and do that I need to go and do a really hard workout, but I can't get there, for perhaps 3 days at times. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm away or whatever it is, So if you're dependent on that workout to regulate your mood, then you're accepting that your mood is going to be in the state that it's in for the next 3 days. Whereas if you've got another tool that you can call on at any time, i.e. the breath, then you can kind of start to regulate that emotion at that point, in that moment, so that you can get to the point that you'll go and do that workout that will, make you feel better. So yeah, I mean... In terms of kind of question went from where do you learn about it? Like I say, loads. So the Wim Hof Method, there's an app for that. There's an app, so you can kind of work through there. There's different courses you can do, as well as kind of daily practices. That's the one I tend to use the most. There's another one called Breathing Space. Which is really good. And again, that's kind of loads of recorded breathworks, various different things in there. Some of them are kind of conscious connected breathing, which takes you into that really deep state where you can kind of get emotions moving. Some things are just kind of meditation. Just kind of finding what you find that can kind of work for you, really. But there's loads now.
With your workshops then, because you've said it's not just the breathing, you do like mindset and everything as well. What does like a workshop look like with you? Like, if anyone's interested, because I know I am.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I use loosely. So I still say I use the Wim Hof Method. I probably loosely use the Wim Hof Method because I do more than 30 to 40 breaths. But ultimately, I will create a workshop designed around a theme. So I do regular workshops, kind of once a month. Which is kind of a monthly mindset reset. So this month, the theme was gratitude. And what we do is kind of get everyone prepped and ready so they fully understand what they're getting into. They understand they're going to be doing breath holds, and they're not questioning whether or not they're still alive whilst they're in that moment, and they're understanding what they're going to see and experience. Because, oh my God, you get all sorts of sensations. You get like tingling, pulsing, like all sorts. You can get something called tetany, which makes your hands kind of go like this. All safe, by the way. It's just a CO2 reduction in the body. So I kind of explain all of that. Then I'm hypnotherapy trained as well. So I will use suggestive hypnotic language to get people into a nice relaxed state. Don't be scared by that. I'm not hypnotizing anybody. Hypnosis is just deep relaxation. That's all it is. I think people see the comedian hypnotists and think that, you hypnotize someone and get you running around like a chicken. That is not the case. Those people that run around like a chicken choose to run around like a chicken because all that happens is you get into a relaxed state. Our unconscious mind is really compliant. It does what we tell it. So if you're a really compliant person and I get you into a relaxed state, then your unconscious mind will just do whatever I tell you to do. So that's why they'll pull people out of a crowd. They'll know who can do it. Anyway, I digress. So I use kind of hypnotic language to allow that deep kind of let's switch off from the day. And then we kind of move through some rounds of the Wim Hof Method. So I will pick a playlist and we will kind of use kind of quite uplifting music. It's quite strong because music's also a really powerful way of resetting us. And during each round, which I said earlier, was kind of you do the breaths and you do the breath holds. I will take you on a bit of a visualization journey, and it'll be linked to whatever that mindset activity was. So that'll be for this week. It was gratitude. You will go wherever your breath takes you, no matter what I'm saying. You will go wherever your breath takes you. All sorts happens. I've had people giggling in my sessions. Tears come up. I love, so the one that I did on Sunday, sometimes the room just gels really well. When you do group stuff, it's different from one-to-one because you're taking on the energy in the room. So together, you kind of get all of this great energy and it's positive. And if the rapport's good in that room, then that energy is even stronger in the room and you'll always get a great experience. But honestly, sometimes you can I'm looking around and I'm like, I can see this room's pulsing together. And the one that I did on Sunday was like that. I could see like people movements. You can see kind of lots of people like they're kind of faces kind of shaking, if you like, and I know that that's like energy moving through their body. They're really getting into it and they're kind of moving like unwanted kind of emotion that's been stuck for a while. And at the end then we'll do like a little bit of just be still, be like, wait till you next hear my voice, and they'll go off to a lovely little area somewhere. I'll bring them back round and everyone will tell me how much lighter they feel. All that weight has been shifted and they feel so much lighter. Somebody came up to me at the end of the session today and like me had experienced, like when I went a few months, when I had my big visionary, they'd had a really big visionary. They were like, at the end, I know what I've got to do now. It's really clear. And it's like, oh yes, thank you so much. Let me know how you get on with that. It's really lovely to hear that. Somebody else spoke to me and this was lovely. So she's somebody that has been coming to my sessions really a really long time, ever since I started religiously. And she had a moment where her dad came to her on Sunday, and she said she's been seeking his presence for such a long time, and suddenly she felt her dad come and touch her cheek. And I'm like, well, that's just beautiful. I love the fact that I don't, you do the breathing. I'm just guiding you through a process that takes you to where you need to get to. So it's just beautiful. It's just, and then sometimes nothing. Sometimes it's just a case of you feel really relaxed. Every time you'll go where you'll feel lighter, the weight will be released. But, every experience is different. Sometimes it'll be that moment, that big, big clarifying moment. Sometimes it'll just be, do you know what? I feel like I can just go home and just relax for the rest of the day now. Nothing's bothering me now, Yep. You will always leave, because you've had a nervous system reset, you will always leave with that sense of, nothing was as bad as I thought it was before I came in here. Yep. So that's a good thing.
How does it differ then from your sort of, because you're saying you do like the private sessions, like one-to-ones as well, because I can imagine like a lot of people that start coming to you have no idea about breathwork. So It's like, how would you decide like, I'm going to do this type of breathwork with them to try and get this response, if they're just like, I want to try something new but I have no idea what I need?
Yeah. So just through talking to them, literally. So like I say, I pick and choose my times to do trauma release. So I won't specifically do a group work trauma release sort of emotion, like big emotional release sort of thing, just because it's just not me. So if I've got somebody then one-to-one and I'm sitting and talking to them and I don't think they've got the capacity right now to deal with a trauma release, then I won't push them. I will just work with them on what they need to work with, and we'll just do more of the relaxation breath work. So breath work will always take you to a lovely relaxed state, and at the end of the day all they need is a nervous system reset. So they'll feel better leaving, and then also, but then I'll give them the tools that they can kind of take away and implement in life then. And that nerve, and in that moment they'll walk out knowing, oh, I've got what I need within me now to go and start to make some of those changes. So then over time, then I'll get to the point where I'll be like, right, we're kind of ready now. There's a guy that I've been working with for quite a long time, actually. So he has health anxiety and OCD, really. A really kind of challenging case when he came to me. He literally would constantly, so with his OCD, he used to believe that he'd have a thought and he had to do something 4 times in order for that, for someone, not to be harmed, for his family to be safe or for him to be safe. So when I first started working with him, I could see him going like his foot going, he'd just constantly be, and all the time, constantly moving. Literally, he'd be like, just constantly on the move. And I was looking at him and I was thinking, gosh, you must be in so much pain because you're just so tense. So we agreed kind of a pattern with him where I work with him on his kind of anxiety, but I really want to release his trauma because it's as a result, his health anxiety is as a result of past trauma. Now we're at a place where we worked together a couple of months, and then at the start of, so every session kind of looks the same. We'll do like a bit of talking, mindset stuff, and people kind of open up and talk to me. Now I'm no therapist, right? So if people need therapy, take that as well, go and have the talking therapy. I find people come to me when they're like, I'm having talking therapy, but now I don't know what to do. It's great talking about it. I know why it's happening, but I don't know what to do about it. So I'm the person that gives you the tools, the tools that you can use then kind of practically in life to kind of navigate that and have the capacity to deal with those things. So every session we'll do a bit. We'll chat for a little while. We'll kind of talk about what's happening, what we've got to work on. Tends to be replaying a lot of the tools that I've given, how you can use them, and then at the end of the session we will do some sort of nervous system reset or a full kind of trauma release breath work. In the beginning, when I used to start with him, I used to kind of sit back and, and he'd just be twitching. We've gotten him to the point now. There was one day that he just lay back and I was like, oh my God, he's still. Like, oh my gosh, he's like totally still. What's going on? So we did the session, kind of the breathing session. And then at the end, I was like, do you realize that you're still now? And he was like, no, I hadn't noticed. I was like, you've stopped the twitches, the tics that you had have gone, at the moment, when you're sitting talking to me, they're not there. And he's like, oh my God, I hadn't even noticed that. However, with him, he is really nervous of the breath work. He loves it, and we've done it a few times, but he gets nervous about the breath holds because they peak adrenaline, can therefore peak blood pressure, all that sort of stuff. He's really nervous of it. I need to get down into that trauma with him, but it's not right for me to take him through it. I've tried a couple of times and I've been like, oh, I'm going to stop because he can't do it. He can't let himself switch off. He can let himself switch off in ways he feels safe. He doesn't feel safe here. So if he's not feeling safe, I'm not going to push it. So we will get to the point where I can get him feeling completely safe and start to release that trauma. But that just gives an example of how I will play it based on what I can see, what's playing through. And even though he's a marked improvement in his anxiety levels and where he's at, he still has the health anxiety, which triggers the OCD. He still doesn't have the trust for his body, for me to take him through a led trauma release session, which is frustrating because I know that trauma release will have such a positive impact on what I'm trying to work with. But until we do it in I'll gently get him there, and we do touch base on it. As in we'll do shorter sessions to see if I can get him there that day. But, you know, it's it'll be over time that we kind of dig deep and do it. Yeah. But yeah, everyone's different. So I'll decide individually with that person as to what they need at that time and how it works.
Yeah. Is there anything to do with breath work that you think we should have covered that I haven't asked about? Anything that is like, you know what, like this is actually like a really important part that we just haven't
thought about? No, I don't think so. I think it's just people understanding. So I think there's breathwork has become like a new trend, if you like. And I jumped on it, you know, I was inspired by it and jumped on it, you know. So, but I'm starting to kind of hear more and more people who want to be breathwork practitioners, breathwork facilitators and all of that. And it can be really easy to get yourself signed up and onto a course. And because the trend is this trauma-focused piece that kind of gets people kind of screaming, crying in a room, my worry with it is that anybody can go on a course. Anybody can then start facilitating breathwork without necessarily being trauma trained. And that's something that I think people need to be aware of and focus on. If you're delving into something yourself because you want a little bit of help and support, like do your research on the person that you're working with, because it is deep work. It's really kind of deep, powerful work. It needs to be practiced safely. Because you're making all sorts of changes in the body. So from a trauma release perspective, there's that aspect of it. What's going to come up? Because even though I've said to you, often you can release trauma and not know what it is. Often something can come up, particularly if you've gone into the breath work with that thing on your mind. You know, if there's something that's happened in the past and you've gone in and that's on your mind, that can come up. So if you're dealing with someone that doesn't know how to deal with that, then they're leaving you with that trauma. Like there's a massive risk there. So, you know, like be open, do your homework, know what you're kind of getting yourself into, but then don't be scared of it. Always know that, you know, if you're going to go and give it a go, you're in control of your breath. So if you're uncomfortable with anything, you know, only kind of do what you're comfortable with. Because I want everybody to know and understand the power of the breath. I want more and more practitioners to pop up and be around. But it's like doing it safely, you know, and ensuring that you've got the knowledge that you need to be able to practice in that place. Which is why, you know, myself personally, I would never do a big group emotional release, because I would leave that room thinking, oh, I wonder what I've left someone with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not, I just can't personally break away from that. But again, it's really hard because I actually am not like slating that at all. Even though it sounds like I'm kind of like, oh, you know, I wouldn't do it, but I'm not slating it. I do, I go to those sessions, you know. And then because of the chemistry changes in our body, weird things can happen to our body.
Okay.
And again, it's kind of knowing what that is and being aware of it. So in one of my so it was when I went on my Wim Hof Method training, they spoke to us about this thing, which they call lockdown. It's ultimately where your body goes into tetany, but it becomes really extreme and your whole body kind of seizes up. So you kind of go into this really like I made that noise. It is like that. Like somebody can literally go like that. So when we were taught about it, we were taught how to get people out of it and trained, you know, fully and how to safely kind of get people out of it if they did experience that on our course. I was like, it's never gonna happen to me. Literally about the third breathwork session that I did, I say like so I'm encouraging the room now to really give it a go, you know, give it everything you've got, you know, put your all into it, you know, really kind of breathe hard. If you're ready, you know what to expect now. And I had this one guy in there and he was like breathing, going for it, really, really, really going. On the final, on the second to last round, he did the breath hold and I could see him starting to claw up and I was like, oh, he's all right. You kind of, he let go and did the last one. I was like, right, this is the last one. Give it everything you've got. Everyone go for it now. And kind of, you know, really kind of got people going. He massively, massively, massively went for it. Did the breath hold. And then all of a sudden, so I had, there was a girl there and she was taking photos at the time and she was like, And she pointed it into me, and he'd literally curled up like a ball, like he'd had like extreme tetany. Now it was for 10 seconds, right? I went over, touched his shoulders, kind of give his kind of traps a little squeeze, kind of got like he brought his awareness back, because he's in an amazing place, right? He's having the time of his life. He's no idea what's happening. We're looking at him, and everyone starts taking their eye mask off because they can hear someone kind of making a noise. His hands are like this, and he's like a bowl off the ground. So kind of squeezes his traps, and he starts to come around, and I kind of put my hand on his chest, and I'm like, now breathe. And then straight away his body softens and everything's fine. Now that's not dangerous, okay? Because your body's always just going to breathe again. Yeah, if you're holding your breath, instinct will take over and your body's suddenly going to go, oh, I'm going to breathe now. Like, it's not going to stop breathing. It's not dangerous. But it's not a very nice experience for the people in the session, because it looks scary. Like, one of my friends is a GP, and she was like, I thought I was going to have to come over and do CPR. And I was like, it was all fine. Like, it literally, the whole thing probably lasted 10 seconds, if that. Do you know what I mean? But it's having that awareness that those sorts of things can happen. And I don't think that features in a lot of the training these days, So yeah, it's quite interesting when I hear about kind of things popping up and that just kind of level of safety. I suppose in everything that you do, I suppose, isn't it? It's knowing that people are trained, like it's people's like the level of training that they've got and how much they put into it and all that. But yeah. But no, that's it.
That sounds like quite an experience to have.
Oh, he had the lovely time. He had no idea, no recollection it happened. The whole room sat up and everyone's looking at him, and he's like, like nothing at all. Everyone's waiting for him to say something, and he's not a clue that he was in that place. He was having the best time. But it isn't. And now I've kind of learnt to judge my group. Like, that was a really early session as to how, because I don't want people experiencing that. The rest of the people, if they want to do that themselves in their own home, fine. But it's not. It's other people looking on are a bit like, oh my gosh, what just happened there? Is that okay? Was he going to stop breathing? It's like, well, no, your body's just going to breathe. It's fine. But I want them to feel kind of safe. So now I'll judge the group that I'm with and decide my wording in terms of where I want them to go and where they want to take it. And, you just learn over time, don't you?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. If someone does want to come to one of your workshops or book in with you privately, like, how can they find out more about what you're doing?
So I have got a website, which actually I've just changed over, so none of my events on there, so I'll take that back. But maybe by the time this goes out, it will be sorted. But I've got my link tree on my Instagram, which has all of the upcoming sessions. I tend to try and offer, because breathwork is for everyone, like literally everyone. So I do a lot of diverse kind of style workshops. So for example, I'll do like a sound bath and breathwork, which is very, very chilled. We've got Breathe, Run, Rave. Are you coming to Breathe, Run, Rave, Repeat?
I'm not, no.
Oh, come on. So like that's all about like a really high energy uplifting event. It's just a big wellness event. So like I'll offer something that's quite diverse in that space. So we're going to be doing breathwork to a DJ, big crowd, and just getting the energy in the room to get people out then kind of running and raving straight afterwards. What else have I got that's... Oh, and then I do kind of retreats and things, and again, kind of mix up how those look. So I offer like different ways of doing breathwork so that people can find what works for them, because it literally is for everybody. So yeah, take a look at my Instagram, which is just Liz Hollis _ and on my link tree will be all the events I've got coming up, and just kind of or get in touch with me to work one-to-one, or I even do kind of private sessions. So last weekend, for example, did private session for a group of girls. I've got private session for a couple tomorrow. So it's all about the way that people want to experience breathwork themselves, whether they want to do it on their own, whether they want to do it with their partner, whether they want to do it in private with their friends. I'm actually doing a hen party.
Nice.
So it's it's just for everyone.
Any occasion.
Any occasion you can bring breathwork in, and that is the truth. Like that, it genuinely is the truth.
Yeah.
It can be uplifting. It can be kind of quite deep. It's and I guess that's the reality of spirituality, isn't it? Spirituality is everything. It's just that awareness of your body.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciated the chat. And yeah, I look forward to seeing all the other things that you end up doing, because it is
good.
fascinating.
It is, yeah, it's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Adventure Athletes podcast. It was really cool to sit down with Liz and talk breathwork and everything that goes with it. It's stuff that I'm really trying to incorporate in my daily life at the moment. But yeah, I really want to spread this podcast as far and wide as possible. The more views we get, the more I am able to keep this going, keep this podcast alive, and I'd really love to hit 1,000 episodes in a month. So if you guys could share it, like it, leave us a review, all of the above, that would be absolutely amazing, and that will help keep this podcast going. Until next time, guys.